Go ahead.
Let me let Asma jump in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, a really relevant aspect of the question you're discussing in terms of the mosques and its role in our negotiation of our lived reality is the women question. There's so many identity crises that begin at the mosque for many women because they go and it's just sort of like, well, the space for you is through the back door in that cramped space where
Or the basement.
where you have to stay with the children because the children can't go in the men's space because the men's space need to be quiet and they need to focus.
It's true. Very true.
I mean, there was an article on Al-Muslim called Damami, Why Are Women in the Back? And this idea that, even just in terms of raising our children, raising our daughters, it's like everywhere else out there outside the mosque, we are constantly told you can achieve whatever you want to achieve, you can be at the top of your game. But as soon as you get into the mosque, where are you put? You're put in the back. And then we have another article that says women behaving badly in mosques. And that was actually in response to a number of misogynistic comments that were left about how you can't really have any sort of breakdown in strict gender segregation in the mosque in terms of men and women praying side by side or front and back even, because women don't know how to behave themselves. Their space is always, they're really noisy and they don't dress properly, and there are all these things that all of us have heard, I'm sure. And
men don't dress improperly, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But the the problematic aspect
Skinny
of that,
jeans.
yeah, and I've definitely heard of that as well.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Let's put a visual out there.
Yeah, but the problematic aspect of that commentary wasn't so much, I think we had all heard it, but it was being attributed to there being women. I mean, could there be anything more misogynist? As opposed to thinking, well, let's take a look. Women are at most might get a screen, if it's working. It's nothing different from being at home watching on television or listening to on the radio. There's no sort of connection with the person giving the speech. So why am I going to feel that I need to act differently just because I don't have that sense of connection? And furthermore, what does it say that we're actually giving this space to women and preserving the men's space for a silent, calm place? What does that say about how we're valuing women's spirituality and the importance of that, especially vis-a-vis men? And then there's just so many more aspects to that, even in terms of childcare. Why is childcare relegated only to the women's space?
Well, I think if you look at, I forgot who did this study, but they're talking about Muslims, and they said that 10 to 15% of Muslims are regular mosque attendees. That's 10 to 15%. So clearly, the mosques aren't addressing the needs of the community fully. I mean, I think it's safe to say that. Obviously, there's some communities that are doing great things, and I don't want to discredit that. But when I talk to, sorry, go ahead. Oh, okay. But when I talk to Muslim women, for example, I ask them, why don't you go to the mosque? And a lot of them say, I remember one person told me, she said, when I show up to the mosque, I don't feel like I'm going to the mosque. I feel like I'm showing up to court. And she talks about, she steps inside the mosque and the jury is like, we the jury, we find the defendant guilty of 3 strands of hair showing. That's what it is. And again, I don't want to be too critical because what you were saying before is, are you just going to say, well, I'm not welcome there, so I'm not going to go? Somebody has to take the initiative and change things. And